When people come to the UK, they expect tea, rain, and maybe a selfie with Big Ben. But what they don't expect is the invisible rulebook that actually runs this place. And we don't hand it out at Heathrow, probably because we're all too busy avoiding eye contact. But after having spent a year living in Australia and coming back to the UK for a couple of months, I've realised these rules do exist. These tiny fussy things that somehow control everything, like saying sorry to someone who's bumped into you. Break them and you'll feel that quiet but slow wave of British disapproval. Follow them and suddenly everything gets so much better here. So without further ado, let's get into the list. Hey mate, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sam, a British actor documenting my journey of rebuilding my life in Australia. However, back in the UK for a couple of months. Now it's important I say before we go any further that these are not laws in the UK, but these unwritten rules will save you a lot of headaches going forward. Now number one, you don't have to pay the service charge. When I say service charge, I'm talking about that not so little fee they attach to the bottom of your bill at the end of having a meal at a restaurant here in the UK. Now they usually charge you 10 to 15% of your meal, but occasionally it can be more depending on where you are. But what people don't realise is that you don't have to pay this. The UK is a really expensive place to eat out. I thought it was the norm, right? But then I go to Australia and eating out was literally half the cost that it would be in the UK. Whereas in the UK, you'll go out for a seemingly cheap meal or outing, you know, like a piece of coffee and cake, and it could be costing you £10 or more. It's absolutely unbelievable. I think if the service has been good that night and 100% of the service charge is going towards the staff that have served you, then I think you should pay for it, as long as you can afford it, of course. However, if the service charge isn't going towards the staff that served you then and there, then I don't think you should have to pay for it, because it's going into the pockets of the higher-ups in the company that haven't even had to lift a finger that time you've gone for your meal. So you're probably thinking, Sam, how can I tell whether it's going towards the staff or to these higher ups in the company? Well, you just need to ask. What I do is when I get the bill, I'll say, thank you very much, it's been lovely. Just out of interest, does the service charge go to you guys or does it go, you know, somewhere else? And if they say it goes 100% to us, then I go, great, happy to pay for it. But if not, I will definitely ask for them to take the service charge off. There's nothing wrong with that. But also don't worry too much if you can't actually afford to pay the service charge. I know some people will say you shouldn't go out to eat if you can't afford to pay the service charge, but I'm of the opinion that if you've flown all the way to the UK, it's an expensive flight, accommodation is expensive, it's just a very expensive country to begin with. Number two, queuing is vital. Look, I know it's a bit of a cliche in the UK that we love a queue, but it's true. I think it stems from our over politeness. Of course, not all Brits love to queue or follow the queuing rule, but if you see a queue, you need to join the back of it. If you do any sort of drive-bys or sort of, you know, subtly try and sneak in, you'll either get some really judgmental looks and there'll be a lot of huffing and puffing and maybe some subtle remarks directed at you. And on the other hand, there could be a really outspoken Brit who calls you out in front of everyone, then it's really embarrassing. So queuing is a really important thing here. The same goes for like the London tube system, right? If you see a big queue, especially around rush hour for the escalator, even if it's busy, don't try and jump in because people will call you out. And if it does ever get a bit confusing, you're not sure if someone's waiting in the queue or not, or if they're last, just ask them. Brits are actually really friendly if you start talking to them. We can be extroverted, but you kind of need to get us going, not in that way. So just remember, it's actually incredible how not polite Brits can become if you break these rules. Number three, volume control is essential. So when you're on any kind of public transport like trains or buses, or if you're in a cafe or a quiet restaurant or somewhere like Waterstones, the bookshop, it's got to be indoor voices only. Now it's really good to remember that some British people, not all, are quite reserved and enjoy the peace and quiet basically. So when we talk on trains and on buses and cafes and restaurants, of course not everyone does this, but people usually talk in quite a, you know, low volume voice, and if you talk quite loudly, you basically stick out like a sore thumb. There's no law against talking loudly, it's just you might get a few looks. British people, they're not great at going up to you and going, hey mate, do you mind if you could just keep it down a bit? You just get glares basically. And I totally get that if you've just got off the plane, you've landed in the UK for the first time and you're so excited to be here. I get that excitement. You want to vocally share it with your family and your friends. But if you sort of shout about it, it's going to sort of disrupt everyone. But I totally get the excitement. I really do. The UK is an awesome place. It is absolutely beautiful. There's so many incredible things to see. The architecture, the weather, you know, even when it gets cold, it can be quite cozy. It's a really cool place. But You want to share that enjoyment with others and not sort of disturb others is the general vibe. Number 4, the pub protocol, okay? I've given it this name because there is a little bit of a protocol. Essentially, when you go to the pub, you will pay for your drinks at the bar. I know this sounds really silly, but there are some cultures and countries that are used to more table service, which I totally get. That's a very lovely thing. But in the UK, order at the bar. A lot of pubs will still take cash, but it's becoming a really contactless country now, so you can just tap to pay. But if you're traveling to some really rural areas in the UK, you might want a bit of cash on you just to be safe. Basically, if someone gets a round of drinks for you and whoever you're with, then it's just unsaid, but you should be getting everyone a round in at some point in the evening or the day or whenever you're having a drink. And the thing is, if you don't buy a round, you can do that, but everyone's going to remember that you've done that. And sadly, people do talk about others behind their backs here, saying, oh, did you see Steve? He didn't get a round of drinks in, isn't he a bit stingy? And that is something that happens. It might not always be fair because you might have, just been made unemployed. You might be saving for a house. If that is the case, then it might be best to just let everyone know about that prior to going to the pub with them. And hot tip, if you want to guarantee a really cheap night out at the pub, then look for Wetherspoons pubs. They're a chain all across the UK. You can download the app or even Google Wetherspoons pub near me, and they're able to serve both food and drinks at really cheap prices. And that's funny, I've been living in Brisbane for over a year now, and I'm back in the UK for a couple of months to see family. I've realised how easy it is to fall into the negativity trap of the UK. Even though the weather's gorgeous, there still can be a lot of complaining around town. A lot of people, rightly so, not being happy with their lives and how things are going, and I felt the exact same, and that's why I made the leap to move to Australia. We don't always have that entrepreneurial spirit that the Americans have, of sort of that optimism, like, yes, I can do this, I believe in myself, it's gonna work out. Or that more laid back, just appreciation and gratitude for the beautiful country that you're in, like the Australians have. Of course, the same can't be said for everyone in the UK, but I think sometimes we struggle at both of those areas. So if I could give you my absolute best advice for coming to the UK, is try not to fall into that negativity that you might feel around you every now and then. Don't be afraid to bring your own energy, because honestly, we need that in the UK, and you will shine such a lovely light on this country. People will be so happy to welcome you here. Number 5 is mind the doorways, mind the pavements. If you're waiting for the bus or the tube, make sure you stand to the left or the right to let people off. Don't just stand in the middle. This might sound like common sense, but I totally get it as well. You're in a new place, everything's foreign to you, it's exciting, it's new, and there is that temptation to just sort of go onto autopilot and things like that happen. But just remember, step to the side. If you're a bit lost, if you need to check Google Maps or your emails or something like that, no problem. So just step to the side, because us Brits, we love that system of free flowing traffic. And then with the pavements, walk at whatever speed you like. I think that's absolutely fine. People have disabilities that we can't always see. So if you need to walk slower, that's absolutely fine. Don't let anyone pressure you to speed up. But if you do need to stop, just make sure you stop to the side of the pavement, preferably the side where the buildings are, so you're not, falling into the road. It's a small country, right? And our roads and our pavements, they are very thin. By the way, if you're thinking of moving abroad, I've put together a completely free guide to moving to Australia, and also a link to sign up to my newsletter. So I will leave that in the first link in the description below. Number 6, the sorry dial. I think it is a little bit of a stereotype that us Brits and also Canadians get accused of apologising, over-apologising all of the time. However, we do say sorry a lot. I have to admit it. So when we say sorry out on the street, it's not like a full-blown deep apology, like, I'm so sorry, I've wronged you, please forgive me. It's more like I acknowledge you and I respect you, and yeah, my bad, sort of that sort of vibe. If someone bumps into you and they say sorry, it's really nice to say back, oh, sorry, or that's okay, no problem at all, Even if you say sorry back and you're thinking, why am I saying this? I haven't done anything wrong. It's just to acknowledge that, they're okay, you forgive them, and everything's all good. It's not you admitting to you having done anything wrong. And if you do over-apologise for minor things, then you'll fit right in. Number 7, it's a pretty cashless country now, I have to admit it. You can still use cash, but it's becoming less and less common. People absolutely love tap to pay, as they say in Australia, but contactless pretty much works everywhere you go now, even in more rural parts. I know I'm contradicting what I said earlier, but even in more rural parts, contactless is the way to go. If you're going to split a bill, try to get some sort of mobile banking, you know, something you can do on your phone. And if you're out with friends and family and you're splitting the bill, it's usually much better for one person to pay and then you guys split the bill with your mobile banking afterwards, because it's so much quicker, not only for the staff but also for you, and then you can get out of there. Number 8 is cross roads with confidence. We have zebra crossings here which legally the driver has to stop for you. However, it's really important that not only you cross confidently, because you know then they won't want to wait there all day for you, but also put your hand up to just say a little thank you. I cannot tell you the silent British rage that bubbles up in me if I'm driving, I've stopped to let someone over the pedestrian crossing, and while they don't have to thank me, they're on their phone and they don't even look at me, they don't even give me a nod. Oh my gosh, I'm like, that's a bit naughty. Of course I'm British, so I don't say anything, I just do this. And by the way, jaywalking isn't a thing here, but if you keep up to date with British news, not sure why you would, then you'll know that there can be some accidents that happen because of jaywalking. So just be really careful, have your wits about you. I don't want to sound like your mum right now, but always look left and right before you cross the road, because you would not believe now how hard it is to hear a vehicle, especially with all the e-bikes and the e-cars and the e-buses we have now. Number 9 is don't go too deep in your conversations unless you know that person really well. We do love a bit of boring small talk here, I'm not gonna lie. We love a whinge about the weather being a bit rubbish, even though we've had gorgeous sunshine here every day for such a long time. We love to ask the taxi driver if they've had a busy night. We also love, especially if you're getting your hair cut, to ask if you've got any holidays coming up. These really are verbal stereotypes that we practice on a daily basis across all 4 countries. Also, banter is a sport here. If you can be self-deprecating and not at all poppy, to take that term that the Aussies have given me, then people will absolutely love you for it. Brits don't like people to boast or brag. And with heavy topics, try to earn them slowly. I feel like with some cultures you can go a bit deeper, you know, like what's your dream, like what makes you happy, things like that. You can go into that a little bit quicker, but in the UK you have to kind of earn that by a little bit of boring small talk. I know it all sounds like a bit of nonsense, but these just are things we do here. And number 10, I have to say this, if you buy British tea bags in the UK, do not leave them in your mug for longer than 15 seconds. If you do, you will have an absolutely bitter, too strong tea. I cannot tell you the disappointment I had when I had a English breakfast tea in Australia. I'm sorry Aussies, but I put it in the mug and after 5 seconds, the tea was still watery and I tasted it and it was like nothing. And then I read on the packet, it was telling me to leave it in the mug for 4 minutes. I said, sorry, what? Whereas in the UK, you'll go to Asda, you just get Asda's own massive pack of like 600 tea bags. It only costs you like a few quid. And you put one of these tea bags in instantly. Usually they don't have the string and the little paper tag on them. And honestly, as soon as it hits the cup, right? Few stirs, some people squeeze. I try not to because there's this theory that your tea tastes worse when you give it a squeeze. And then after 5 to 10 seconds max, you take it out, because otherwise, if you don't, it will be absolutely too strong. Then you pour the milk in. In my opinion, as a Brit, I feel like I can be a little bit cocky and say that is the way you do it. However, I do have British loved ones who do put the milk in first, but they would never leave the tea bag in for longer than 15 to 20 seconds maximum. If it's in for 20 seconds, I'll probably die. Now, if you enjoyed this very silly video, you'll probably want to see a completely alien set of unwritten secret rules that I had to learn the hard way as a Brit who moved to Australia. So go watch this video now. I will see you over there, and thank you so much for watching to the end. Take care. Bye.